So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Rich Clark. I have been a hypnotherapist for the last 8 years and I've been a holistic therapist for the last 14 years. So for Throwback Thursday, I talk about my favourite films, my favourite albums, and my favourite TV series. Carry on my favourite films, I'm going to talk about some Richard Linklater films. And I've already spoke about The Waking Life. I've talked about Scanner Darkly. But this film, which is it took 12 years to make, and it was started and it was came out in 2014. It's called Boyhood, and it's a coming-of-age drama film. It stars Patricia Arquette, Coltrane, who's actually the boy in it, and Ethan Hawke. It was filmed from 2002 to 2013, and he kept it quiet. So all the actors and everything kept this quiet, and it was going on all that time. So in between Scanner Darkly, after Waking Life, in between the Before Sunrise, and I'm going to talk about that trilogy in a minute. So this basically, the Boyhood depicts the childhood and adolescence of Mason Evans Jr., who's L.R.'s Coltrane's character, from ages 6 to 18 as he grows up in Texas with his divorced parents. Richard Linklater's daughter Lorelei plays Mason's sister Samantha. And the production began in 2000 and finished in 2013 with Linklater's goal to make a film about growing up. The project began without a completed script, with only basic plot points, and ended written initially. Developed the script through production, writing the next year's portion of the film after rewatching the previous year's footage. So it was kind of like an ad hoc way of doing it. It was quite unusual for filming. So again, the technique's interesting, and that also goes into the idea of sometimes how we as people, we sometimes think of things and we try and test things and then look back and then we rework our plans. So this is why this film I think is very interesting, and it was a very unusual film for that time. He incorporated changes he saw in each actor into the script, allowing all major actors to participate in the writing process. So the actual actors also help within the writing process as well. So that's also interesting because it also gives the characters where they think the character develops or expands. So kind of in a very much collaborative effort, which is again quite unusual in filming. Boyhood premiered at the 2014 Sundance Festival and was released theatrical on July the 11th, 2014. It was praised for its performance, Linklater's screenplay and direction and subject matter, and nominated for 5 Golden Globes, winning Best Motion Picture Drama, Best Director and Best Supporting Actress for Patricia Arquette, and won 5 BAFTA awards. And it is the most recent film on Metacritic to score 100 out of 100, being the best reviewed film released in the 21st century so far. So, what's the plot? As obviously it covers 12 years, quite a lot of the story, but I'm going to go into it and explain some ideas in hypnotherapy and concepts. So first of all, 2002, 6-year-old Mason Evans lived with his divorced mother Olivia and 8-year-old sister Samantha. In a small town in Texas, Mason overhears Olivia, this is his mother, arguing with her boyfriend, saying she has no free time due to parenting. Following year, Olivia and the children moved to Houston so she can attend the University of Houston to get a better job. Separation of people, that they've had this, with the separation of marriage, it doesn't work, and then these children are kind of in between, like a pinball machine, doesn't know where they're going, where they are, where they settle with, where they want to be. Do they want to be the father? Do they want to be the mother? Also the crux of how much money they have, how does that work? These are all interesting things that will come in within this. So anyway, Mason's father, Mason Sr., visits Houston in 2004 and takes Mason and Samantha bowling. When he drops the children off at home, he argues with Olivia while Mason watches from a window. Olivia takes Mason to one of her classes and introduces him to her professor, Bill Wellbrook. Mason sees them flirt. So now obviously Mason is now seeing his mother flirting with the lecturer, and still he has feelings for his father. So there's, it's a very complex, a child's viewpoint of what they're seeing, and obviously seeing adult development, but also doesn't also know where their own identity lies. So within this, in 2005, so obviously we've just talked about 2002, then 2004, and now 2005. So we've already done 3-4 years already. And this is what I mean, the film, there's a lot of development, and it happens quite quickly, but it's very seamless, which again could have been a TV series. In 2005, Olivia and Bill have married and blended their 2 families. They share experiences such as playing video games, attending a midnight release of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Mason and Samantha are enrolled in the same school as their step-siblings, Mindy and Randy. There, Mason befriends Nicole, who has a crush on him. The next year, Mason and Samantha bond with their father as he takes them out for a day in Houston, common Astros game. So Houston Astros is a baseball team. Yes, just double checking because they forget things sometimes. And a sleepover at his house. Olivia continues her education and is initially supportive of Bill's strict parenting skills, which includes many chores for the children and an enforced shaving of Mason's long hair. So Mason is like a little hippie, really. But this is also then his how he responds to what his actual father was like, because he's probably more like his father than his mother. So in 2007, 2 years later, Bill gradually becomes abusive and violent towards Olivia and the children due to his alcohol. Assaults Olivia, she moves out with Mason and Samantha to a friend's house and files to the doors, while her stepchildren stay with their father, since Olivia is unable to locate their biological mother, facing an uncertain future. So this is where blended families can have problems, because then when they're remarried or whatever, then people have to move out, and then there's also then you've got the worry of the stepchildren, who then now are in the throes or in the actual social conditioned environment of an alcoholic or an abusive father. That can cause a lot of problems, because that can also temper not just her children, Olivia's children, which is Mason and Samantha, but then this also can damage Bill's children as well, which then is a broken family again. So they've now got two broken families now, because they've had a broken, and it gets complicated, and this is why it causes all these stresses and also directions of children to not know where their identity lies. So within this, next, when Mason Sr. learns that Samantha has a boyfriend, he talks to her and Mason about contraception. Mason Sr., Mason's dad. Then on a camping trip with his son, they connect through music, film, and Mason's blossoming interest in girls, because now he's getting older, he's becoming a teenager. Teens have grown into their lives in San Marcos, a town close to Austin. In 2009, so now from 2002, we're now 7 years ahead, Mason is bullied at school and playfully teased on a camping trip, but starts receiving attention from girls. Olivia takes a job in teaching psychology at college and moves in with Jim, a student and Iraq War veteran. The next year, Mason is now started in high school and experiments with marijuana and alcohol. Mason Sr., who is remarried and has a baby, so now Mason Jr.'s father is now remarried and has a baby, so that's one family. His mum has already had another family with someone, Bill, and their two children, but she's now got a separate family again. So again, all this chaos is going around. Mason Sr. takes his kids to visit his wife's parents. For Mason's 15th birthday, Mason Sr. gives him a suit and CDs. Mason's step-grandparents give him a Bible. That doesn't always sound good, does it? So anyway, in 2011, Mason is lectured by his photography teacher, who sees his potential but is disappointed by his lack of ambition. Well, Mason obviously has got this because he doesn't know his direction. He also doesn't feel he has an identity or where he's belonging. Also has a background of social conditioning where he's not too sure where he fits in. He later attends a party and meets Sheila, who becomes his girlfriend. After Mason arrives home late one night from a party, drunk Jim confronts him about his late hours, and Jim is this person who Olivia moves in with. Olivia and Jim suddenly break up, and the family's financial situation worsens. The following year, Mason and Sheena visit Samantha, who's attending the University of Texas, Austin, where they share their hopes and fears. Samantha's roommate discovers they are asleep together in her dorm bed. In 2013, so from 2002 to 2013, towards the end of Mason's senior year, he has a painful breakup with Sheena, wins the second place silver medal in a state photography contest, and is awarded college scholarship money. His family throws him a graduation party and toasts his success. Mason Sr. gives him advice about his breakup. So Mason Sr. seems to have this stable father figure whenever he sees his child. Different states, and they don't always see each other. But he's obviously very good for Mason. Anyway, planning to sell the house and downsize, Olivia meets Samantha and Mason for lunch and asks them to sort through their possessions. Later that year, as Mason prepares to leave for college, Olivia breaks down, disillusioned by how quick life has passed. At Sioux Ross State University in Alpine, Mason moves into his dorm and meets his new roommate, Dalton. Dalton's girlfriend, Barb, and Barb's roommate, Nicole. Mason is given an edible by Barb, and the group go hiking at Big Bench Ranch State Park. Nicole shares with Mason her belief that rather than people seizing moments seize people, and Mason agrees. So in the end, this transformation of Mason actually ends up going because he wins photography and he goes to college and he has a purpose, and that purpose is to capture moments in time. And if you think about it, it's actually the idea of that full circle. From when he started, he had his life was moments in time, where it was all developing and all trying to work out where he fitted in, like a puzzle. And then within that, then he became where he was. So why do I like the film? Well, I think the film was out of nowhere because nobody knew it was being made. He began to see this. Linklater did it all in Houston, where he was from. He planned to assemble the cast and crew for 3 films filming annually for 12 years, and he longed to tell the story of a parent-child relationship that follows the boy through the 12th grade and ends him going off to college. But the dilemma is that kids change so much that it's impossible to cover that much ground. And totally ready to adapt the story to wherever he's going through. So that's what actually happened. So actually the child also kept it all quiet because it was all filmed in the summer, so nobody even knew this child was acting. It's quite interesting. Linklater hired the 6-year-old Coltrane to play the boy. The cast could not sign contracts for the film due to the de Havilland law. So this is de Havilland law which makes it illegal to contract someone for more than 7 years of work. Linklater told Hawke that he would have to finish the film if Linklater died. So if Linklater died, Hawke had to continue the film. Boyhood began filming without a complete script, and Linklater had to prepare each basic plotline and the ending, including the final shot, but otherwise wrote the script for the next year's filming after rewatching the previous footage. So despite the unconventional screenwriting process, Linklater stated that he had a great storyline and the actor did not change the direction of the story as much as he thought. So the other thing as well is what Linklater does is he does try and do things in a very unusual, logical way, linear way. He will do things which works with the story. So when we're going to talk about the trilogy of Before Sunrise, Before Midnight and so forth, he also does this idea as well, and the idea of time-lapse photography. So actually Linklater is actually kind of, in some respects, the character of Mason Jr. is Linklater because he's a photographer and he likes the idea of capturing moments in time, but he does it in film. This is what makes him a great director, and it's probably not a director, you've probably seen his films, he didn't even know who he was. So when I'm looking at hypnotherapy, why is this important? Well, it's also about how we piece parts of our lives, because different parts of our lives, when we have trauma, we have to understand what parts that is. So some people think it's one action, one incident causes trauma. It doesn't. Sometimes it can be one incident starts it, but then multiple ideas are pieced together, which then actually cause that trauma. So this is why I think his directions and also his ideas of his films are excellent. So Boyhood, to me, which I think is probably one of the best films in the last 10, 20 years, I think because it was so different, it was so natural, it was like watching someone's life in front of you but done in an artistic merit, and I think that's why it did so well, and it's why it's got such a huge approval rating, because people watch it and go, man, this film's just unbelievable how they did this 12-year film and the idea of it and how you feel connected with the characters. And I think that's very unusual for films to do that, because you can feel when something's kind of fake or whatever. This doesn't. So I would highly rate this film for anybody to watch, and I think it's a great example of where you use photography, use the idea of long-term idea of how you can make a film great. I wouldn't say 12 years is the best time to make a film over 12 years, but I think the concept of it is great. So anyway, thank you very much, and I'm going to talk about the trilogy of Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight, and I'm going to split them up into 3 films, but they're going to be like in trilogy.